This video is sponsored by thevectorindia.com, which is a digital branding and video editing agency. The link is in the description below. Hi folks, in the previous video, we had learned how to dual boot Ubuntu and Windows. But now, what if you don't like it and you want to remove the Linux from the system? And it's not as easy as just hitting the delete button. For that, you need to follow some important steps and procedures. And so this is the flavor of Linux I've been running, which is Ubuntu. So for that, let's first switch off from Ubuntu, and we need to remove the Linux distribution from the Windows operating system, which is dual booted one. So we power off the system, and then we restart it again, and this time we have to boot into Windows. And after booting into Windows, let's get into it. The step 1 will be removing the partition which has the Linux OS. So right click on the start button, you get a bunch of options. Hit on disk management, and then you can see a new window popping up of the disk management system. You can see a bunch of partitions also. And the E volume particularly has 57 gigabytes of memory in it, which is what I had allocated at the time of installing the OS. So you need to remember what memory you had allocated for the Linux operating system. So I know which one has the Linux, so I just delete that volume right away. It says me that all the data in it will be deleted, so be sure to take a backup before deleting anything. We then make a new simple volume out of the unallocated space, just to put the memory into use and not waste anything. So we include the maximum storage into our volume size, and then assign any letter whatsoever, and hit next with the file system of NTFS, and hit next, and then finish. And then it'll take some time and make a new volume out of it. This volume can be seen in the my computer settings also, so I'll just show you that in a while. So as you can see here in the devices and drives, I have the volume E which I recently created. Hence the memory allocated for the Linux has come into Windows. Now let's restart Windows to see whether Ubuntu is still there or is it completely gone. Here the booting has begun, but then we see a weird screen. This means that the grub has been corrupted. Let's type exit to come out of it, and I'll explain you what is actually happening. So what happens is the grub bootloader is still in our operating system and doesn't particularly recognize which operating system to boot in. So we have to remove the grub bootloader along with the files within Ubuntu. So we run command prompt as an administrator. For that you need to search for cmd and then run as administrator. Here you can see it is in system32, which is the most important directory. Be very careful of not deleting even any file, as your entire system depends on this. Now we first type DISKPART to open the disk partition process, and here we first need to see the disks. Here in my system I just have one hard disk, so I can just type list disk to check all the hard drives or solid state drives which are present. So I select my hard disk. You have to choose the one which has the Linux distribution. So you do that by selecting disk and the number. And then in that particular disk, you have to check all the volumes. Here you can see the recently created volume is also available. You can see the FAT32 file system is the one which has the system related information. So we need to select that. Just for the sake of our convenience, we'll assign a letter to it. I already have Z, but you may have none of it. So you can just assign a letter, let's say X. We just exit from the disk partition now. by typing the command exit exit. Now we actually need to go to that system related volume. We do that by typing the name and then colon and then pressing enter, and then we press dir to check the directories which are inside the volume, and we can see there are two. One is EFI and the next one is boot. So we go inside EFI by a command called as cd, which is change directory, and then inside we see there is a directory called as Ubuntu. So let's check what is in there. We see there are many files, and we can also see there's a file called grub.cfg. These files are accessible only when you run the command prompt as an administrator, similar to the root privileges in Linux. So we need to completely remove the folder of Ubuntu to get rid of that system. We use a command called rmdir, which means remove directory, and so we use a /s and then the name of the directory. So it asks of a confirmation, so we press yes, and then Ubuntu is successfully deleted. Now we just exit from here and let's try to test it out. So for that I will restart the system again. The system is booting now, and congratulations, we have no grub and it is booted into Windows. Thank you. At the end, if you found the video to be helpful, please like and share it with your friends who might be in trouble, and subscribe. Thank you.